Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bayou Bets for a Wednesday, October the 18th, 2023. We're going to have all kinds of fun today, except most of the fun is going to be by my partners, Spencer the Guru Urquhart, Gabe Henderson. I am Jim Derry. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm still here. We're going to do the best we can, and I'm going to let them do, again, most of the talking. But I will tell you that we remind you to subscribe to the Bayou Bets channel. That is where you find out when we're going live, which is usually on Monday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Today, obviously Wednesday, with the Saints playing early. But you always get notified when we go live, and you'll find out all kinds of good stuff. So just go do yourself a favor. Subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. And a reminder that Caesars Sportsbook is the official odds partner of bet.NOLA.com. Today's topics are there on the board. What's going on, my friends?
Doing good, Jim. Just excited to talk about the Saints-Jags game. It's one that I feel like it's going to be a big test for both teams because the Jags are a team that's riding high, thinking they can get a winning streak going, and the Saints kind of the opposite end, looking to take momentum back. But, both teams that are favorites in their respective divisions. I know the South divisions are kind of down, but bottom line is if you get in the dance, you have a chance. And so both these teams trying to win their divisions, and
did you make that up?
Game could be a long wait for that.
Get in the dance, you got a chance. Did you make
I was talking to a buddy of mine last night. We were talking about that because he was saying, "Oh, you're Saints," and I was like, "I'm down on the Saints right now." He's like, "Oh man, y'all can still win 9 or 10 games if you get in the dance. You get a chance." And I was like, "You got a point. You got a point."
I like it, Gabe. What's going on?
Absolutely nothing. I will say I'm excited to have the Thursday night game be somewhat entertaining for the first time in the last month or so.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not gloating after you had a day off. The Saints lost to Houston. Everything is right with the world in H-Town. The Texans are 3-3. It's got to be like the first time in 20 years, something like that.
No kidding. Probably. Let me think.
It's been about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, probably 2018. The last time I think we were the last team to make the playoffs. Who started 0-3 or something like that.
Yeah,
I'll let CJ Stroud's play speak for itself. He wasn't the best the other day, but he didn't do anything. Didn't do anything to lose the game.
He didn't do much. He had 199 yards. The Saints
okay.
were not very kind to themselves. All right, we're going to talk about a little looking forward today. We're not looking back, although we might have a few things to say about what's going on with this team. I know a lot of people will have some comments. If you want to leave your comments, feel free to do so either on Facebook or YouTube. We will show them here on the screen. And most people have been negative. I had Datitude this morning. It's funny. People come out of the woodwork when they got something negative to say. When the Saints win, it's like it's so different. It's so different. But you know what? We're not going to get too high after a win. Not going to get too low after a loss, unless the Tampa Bay loss. That one really pissed me off, but we're not going to go back to that. Saints Jags on Thursday Night Football, Amazon Prime. Is the short week a good thing for the New Orleans Saints? You know what? It's hard to think about all the things that went wrong on a short week. We'll talk about that in just a minute. LSU and Tulane are both big favorites. One is a 30-point favorite. One is a 20-point favorite. We're going to talk about big bucks, our best bets of the week. Someone was the turkey of the week. Someone's going to have to wear that hat today because it's not Thomas Casale. So one of us three is going to be wearing the turkey hat. We'll find out who that is later on. One of us went 4-1. I don't know who that is. We'll find that out later as well. All right, let's get started with the Saints. And guys, the Saints are a 1-point favorite on Thursday night. On Thursday Night Football, over/under is 40. The under is hit 12 straight times in Saints games. We'll talk about that. Trevor Lawrence is injured. Looks like he's going to play at this point. Spencer, even if he does, he's going to have a big brace on his left knee. Doesn't matter whether he plays. Should he play?
I think he's going to play, but he'll definitely be limited because his mobility is a good part of his game. I mean, he can run for first downs. If he's got a bulky knee brace on, he probably won't be running a whole lot. So this is why I think this is going to be probably an ugly, low-scoring game. That's been the theme of the Saints season, and I don't really see it changing here because, both teams are Jags. Total defense ranking isn't as good as the Saints, but they have a really good run defense. So Alvin Kamara could run into some trouble. Their pass defense really bad, though. So this is a game to where Derek Carr is going to have to outperform Trevor Lawrence. I know the Saints O-line's beaten and battered with the short week. is not kind to the Saints in that regard. But this is where Derek Carr is going to just have to step up and just figure it out. You know, I mean, yeah, it sucks that your O-line's beat up, but just quick reads, quick play designs, they're just going to have to figure it out, because the bottom line is, if Derek Carr doesn't step up as a passer and outperform a banged-up Trevor Lawrence, the Saints aren't going to win this football game.
I am not sure whether we have reported or not, but I know Ian Rappaport has reported that James Hurst and Ryan Ramczyk are both out today, both out for Thursday night. So both of your tackles are out for Thursday night's game. That means Trevor Penning will start at left tackle. And I would imagine they're going to do what they did last week and probably move Cesar Ruiz to right tackle, which is a scary proposition. Andrus Peat, I don't know what his status is, if he's still hurt. I don't even know if he's still alive. I mean, he may be dead for all we know. I mean, he could be crawled up in a canal. Would anyone even notice is the big question. Does that mean Nick Saldiveri is playing right guard? It is a world of hurt for these New Orleans Saints up front. It means it's going to be one Mississippi, release the ball, Gabe Henderson.
Yeah, I think this is a get-right game for Derek Carr, though. I know he torched the Texans for over 300 yards. I think he does the same against the Jaguars here. I know that the offensive line has its fair share of problems. They struggled, and they're probably going to struggle again. But here's the thing. The Jaguars have allowed, I think I said it in my player props article that just went live on NOLA.com. I think they've allowed 300-yard passers in their last two, and they've allowed 3 of the 6 quarterbacks they've played to go over 280 this year. And I mean, they haven't played a stellar cast of quarterbacks.
Right, they have not.
Josh Allen. Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr really has a chance to get right and get on the same page as his receivers. And as Spencer mentioned, they've got to get the ball out quickly. But if they do, I think they're gonna have a lot of success against this Jaguars defense.
We put the numbers at the bottom of the screen on there for a reason. You see that the Jaguars ranked 31st in pass defense, 21st overall defense. So while they may have trouble running the football, again, I agree with Gabe. It's going to be on Derek Carr. I think you're going to see a lot more deep shots possibilities. Not like last week when it was 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, 4th and not in goal, 1st and 10 from the 23. And they threw a deep pass 4 straight times. That's not what I'm talking about. I think they're going to have open shots. Spencer, also the Jaguars' defensive secondary is in a world of hurt as well. They've got some injuries back there. So, even if Derek Carr doesn't have a ton of time to throw the ball, again, I do think he will have chances to find Olave deep, to find Michael Thomas 20-ish kind of yards. It's going to be an interesting kind of game.
Right. Yeah, they can get some design rollouts going. When if he didn't really move in the pocket, he can really be moving in the pocket and getting things going like that. That's something Drew Brees would thrive at. I mean, Drew Brees wasn't a mobile QB, but he was good at rolling out. And I know that's something Pete Carmichael and then with design. So we're gonna have to do more of that because the Jags secondary stinks. I mean, that's the weak link of their defense. They've got overall an okay defense, but I mean it's because of their run defense is really good. When you look at their pass defense, it's in shambles. So the only thing they've got going for them is their pass rush with Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen. He can get to the quarterback. And so with the banged up O-line, Carr's going to have to get away from him because if he's on Carr, it's just going to get to where Carr's not going to get anything going. But if they can get Carr in the right spots, he'll have open receivers. So Carr's got to be able to move around in the pocket. And if he can do so, then I think he'll have some success.
Here's a perfect example. Okay, Troy, I'm not trying to bash you. And if you're the same Troy Thibodeau I've known for a long time, I love you, man. But come on. Way too much confidence in Carr. He's just not that good. He was benched last year for a reason. He wasn't benched because he wasn't good enough to play for the Raiders.
Can I speak on this?
Please do. Please
do. As a Houston Texans fan, I think I know what it's like when a talented Carr doesn't have an offensive line, and it's not pretty. And let me just say, the cars are not the problem.
That's 100%. And if you look at the rankings, Gabe, if you look at the rankings, the Saints passing offense, people keep talking about how awful. I keep hearing so much crap about Carr. It's really starting to piss me off, by the way. I mean, it really is. I mean, I don't know what the hell people are looking at. I really don't get what people are looking at. He might have the worst offensive line in football, but yet the passing offense is still 15th in the NFL. I mean, that says a whole lot about how good Derek Carr has been. And he's playing injured, by the way, and they're still 15th in the NFL in passing offense. So stop bashing Derek Carr. Well, I mean, if you want to bash Dennis Allen or Pete Carmichael, I'm all about that. We can sit here all day and talk about how bad Pete Carmichael has been because he's been god-awful, atrocious, needs to go, needs to hold somebody else's clipboard holder. I'm with Spencer now. I'm on the Ronald Curry bandwagon. Let him be OC for the rest of the year. I don't care. I'm tired of looking at it. But don't blame Derek Carr. I mean, you just don't know what you're talking about if you're blaming Derek Carr.
Put it this way. There's a big overlap between LSU fans and Saints fans. And LSU fans were the ones saying last season that Garrett Nussmeier needs to be the quarterback.
Some of them are still saying it. Some of them are still saying it. It is unfathomable that Jaden Daniels, I tell you what, here's one that when we get to LSU, and I'll talk about this, I think, and I'm not just saying this, I'm not just spewing it out. I honestly think Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in college football right now. And his numbers, I saw a meme today comparing his stats with Burrow's through that same magical season. And guess what? They're what and what. They are what and what. Jaden Daniels. So that's coming up in a little bit. You got me all riled up now. I'm not supposed to be yelling. I'm going to lose my voice by the end of the show. One thing, Spencer, that I think is interesting, and I brought up this morning, is when you get to this point of the season, you can start using that Denny Green line. You pretty much are what your record says you are. When you hit the 1/3 poll, to me, that's when you can start talking about records matter and rankings matter. And I always like to add up the rankings. And whoever has the lowest number is probably the better team. And in this case, the Jaguars, you add up 21 and 13, even with my limited Shaw math, I could tell you that's 34, and the Saints are at 25. So the Saints, to me, are the better team, and I really believe that. And hence, they're a 1-point favorite. I actually think this line's too low, and I know it's only that low because Trevor Lawrence is banged up, and with Trevor Lawrence healthy, the Jags would actually be favored. They were last week. But I think there could be value here in the Saints.
Potentially, it's just that I listened to that with Larry today, and he was saying, and he made a good point about the red zone efficiency. The Jags have been much more efficient team in the red zone. So even though their yardage totals aren't as good as the Saints, they've been scoring more points consistently, and as a result, they've got more wins. So, like you said, it's 6 games in. You can't just view things as flukes. And I feel like the bottom line is the Saints just really struggle in the red zone, and the Jags, I know Lawrence is banged up. That could hinder their offense to a large degree, but I still think they could do enough to get this done because Travis Etienne's been the driving force of their offense recently. I mean, they've been a running team. I know the Saints have a solid run defense, but if anything, the run defense might be ranked 9th, the pass defense ranked 5th. The pass defense so far has been the strength. So,
and I don't think it will be again. The only problem with that is I looked it up. The Saints are ranked right in the middle when it comes to sacks. So they need to, as well as the Saints have done pass defensively, it's a lot of it's because of Marshawn Lattimore, and I think because of the line back and core. And look, come on, man. Terry Fields. Really? All right. I mean, are you insane? Terry, I love you you're a regular and you come here often, so I don't want to piss you off, but come on. The Saints are the favorites in the NFC South, and they're favored for a reason. I said this the other day. I still believe it. The Saints are by far the best team in this division. That doesn't mean they're going to win the division. The Falcons definitely could win it. I think the Bucs are terrible. I think it's either the Saints or the Falcons. But we're going to find out a lot about these two teams coming up the next few weeks, and then they meet up, I think, in 4 or 5 weeks they meet. So it's going to be an interesting game. Saints-Falcons, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun, and it's going to be a fun race. But to say RIP, they're 3-3. If you want to say RIP to the Panthers, go ahead. Say it. If you want to say RIP to the New York Giants, go ahead.
Patriots.
If you want to, the Patriots, go for it. But you're not RIP when you're 3-3. I mean, they're still almost favored to go to the damn playoffs. So let's get a grip. And
I think they are. I think they're to make the playoffs. Odds
still minus?
Still like minus, yeah.
Insane.
I think the Falcons are also minus 110, but yeah.
It's the fickle fan in this area. It boggles the mind. When they win, and last week when they won 34-0, and I made my predictions on Datitude, on Live Datitude Friday, I said the Saints were going to lose. I predicted them to lose. I predicted them to lose here on the show. I got people saying you're insane. You don't know what you're talking about. The Saints are going to win this game easily. And the other same people are saying, RIP Saints, the season's over. Stop it, people. Stop jumping on the magic carpet when they're winning, and don't crawl in a hole when they lose. Just even keel, people.
That's easier said than done for most fans.
No doubt
And shout
about
out to the Saints fans, one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. But yeah,
the most unrealistic fan.
This got to be a little more chill with the expectations.
the only more unrealistic fans, I think, are LSU fans, and we're getting ready to get to them. One of the three people on the screen has the Saints Jaguars game in their best bets. We're going to come back to the Saints when we get to the end of the show, because we're going to save the Saints for last. So stick around. We will come back to the Saints. It'll be the last thing we talk about. We will give you our predictions, but we got to jump ahead and talk a little bit about LSU and Tulane, and then get the big bucks. Guys, remember we just talked about fickle fans? How about the LSU football Tigers? They are 30-point favorites over Army this week. One of the few independents. I had trouble figuring out how to do Army stats in there, because usually I do rankings in their conference. Well, Army doesn't have a conference, so just got their numbers in there. And really, Gabe, if you can stop the run, you're pretty much going to stop Army.
Yeah, I don't think Army scores double-digit points. Maybe they score 10 like Grambling did. They won't find the end zone twice. I don't usually touch 30-point lines. I would hammer LSU here. I think they're going to respectfully take care of Army. You know, we've seen a lot over the years, a lot of big lines with LSU and their non-conference schedules, you know. And during the Les Miles and Ed Orgeron eras, they didn't really cover against teams like this. But Brian Kelly has made a living off beating down teams that he should beat down at LSU. And he's really the first coach that I can remember doing so. I think they do it again here.
This being a this is a team that's not even in the division. I don't know. I got a feeling they could back off here. This could be, he hasn't done it a whole bunch. Like you said, Gabe, he likes to use Jaden Daniels like when he shouldn't be using him. And I think he's trying to help him possibly win the Heisman, get his numbers up as high as he can possibly get them. Basically dare voters not to vote for him. But in this case, I think there's not going to be a reason to. And I can easily see Army kind of slipping in the back door, because they're just going to want to score. They're just going to want to score, in my opinion, Spencer. So, I mean, Again, I'm kind of with Gabe in the fact that if I had to bet, I'd probably bet LSU, but this isn't one I'm going to touch. Minus 30. I don't bet a whole lot of minus 30s.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I like Gabe's point though about how this is. I just don't see where Army really gets anything going offensively, and so LSU will probably be up like 28-0 or something. And I think even Nuss, if they don't say pull Jaden, Nuss will be able to lead a touchdown drive or two. So
and then the wackos can come out of the closet and say how good Nussmeier is.
Yeah, I mean it's just one of those things. I would never recommend laying 30 points, because you never know what can happen with turnovers and such. But if you forced me to pick a side, I'd probably just lay it, because unless there's some fluky stuff. I mean, LSU should win this by 40+. All
right, let's answer the question: how long will the starters play, or maybe we should say, how long should the starters play in an expected blowout? Gabe, if this is 30-0 at the half, which it could be. I mean, if it's 31-0, something along those lines at the half, do they pull Jaden Daniels this time? Does Kelly pull Jaden Daniels in the second half?
Yeah, I don't see Jaden Daniels and starters playing in the second half. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first game that LSU hits the under, just because I think they're just going to pull everybody, because we know what's coming up on their schedule.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we even see Ricky Collins play quarterback in the fourth quarter for LSU. I think they'll take their foot off the gas relatively, and I think they pull starters pretty early.
Clemson wants to play LSU.
That's next year, I'm pretty sure.
Clemson ought to worry about Clemson.
Season opener.
I mean, Clemson, they got their own issues.
But LSU was opening with USC next year.
They are in Vegas.
Oh, it is USC. Well, it must be. They definitely have Clemson in their future plans.
It
must be 2025
USC next year,
maybe.
Vegas.
So it is USC next year. Okay,
maybe
Clemson 26.
UBN's already bragging about going. Yeah, UBN's bragging about going to Vegas. I mean, he goes to Vegas more than, I don't know. I think some of these burlesque shows go. Anyway, let's move on to Tulane. The Green Wave, they had a big game last week against Memphis. They are a big favorite, 20 points over North Texas. I want to see, this is a game where I actually might play it. I need to see Tulane come out with a big win. Michael Pratt has not impressed me at all since he's come back from injury. He's been a little bit better each time, but I think Gabe Pratt needs to be good in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think he needs to be, and I think he will be. This game is one of those things. I said it with LSU. I don't like touching lines this big that often. I don't think North Texas is going to do anything offensively, really. They've gotten blown out multiple times this season. I mean, I think Cal hung 56 points on them. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. You're going to see your big game from the Tulane offense here.
Well, it's funny because they have the second-ranked pass defense, but overall, the 13th overall defense in the American Athletic Conference. Is only 14 teams. They're last in running defense, and that's because teams know they can just run it right up the middle against the Mean Green, and they're going to gash them for 15 yards a play. So I'm really talking about Pratt. Maybe it's the Tulane running game, Spencer, that gets rolling, and they could use some help. They're 6th in the AAC in rushing offense. They'd love to have a great one here.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, the numbers don't lie here. I mean, North Texas can't stop the run. So, yeah, I think Tulane takes control of this thing early and just kind of lets the run take over. To where I know North Texas has been scoring, but that probably would take the under here because, I mean, Tulane's defense is so stout. So, yeah, I like the under 63 if I had to play something.
Yeah, Tulane doesn't just have the number one rushing defense in the American Athletic Conference. They have one of the best rushing defenses in the country. And I've been saying, and I'll say it again, if you put Tulane's defense with LSU's offense, you got a national champion on your hands. I truly believe that. Not just saying it to be goofy. I think it would be fun to see. All right, it's time to get the big bucks. Somebody's about to put the hat on. My hands are free. Let's show you the standings. Oh, man. Somebody got a lot of red on that thing. Minus 22 for Gabe. Got hosed a little bit. Oregon and Washington under just missed. Just missed on Texas A&M. Just missed. Well, Rutgers, he didn't really just miss. They were losing for a lot of that game and came back to get within 3 there at the end. But Guru, $1. He got himself $1. Woo! Thomas Casale had a push in there, went 3-1, $36 ahead, and I'm still pissed off at Nick Sirianni. That boneheaded decision at the end to not run the football instead of throwing it with Jalen Hurts is just incredibly how stupid that was. It cost me $100 5-0 week, but it is what it is. So we're going to go in order from worst to first, and the turkey of the week is going first.
You know what? If the price to pay is wearing a turkey on my head to seeing A&M lose every week, I'll do this every week. I don't care. It's 100% worth it. You know, the one time I backed the Aggies, they screw me. And at Rutgers, they were 6-0 against the spread, and they're 5-0 against the spread, and they screw me as well. But anyways, we'll get into this week's pick. I'm going with another team that's perfect against the spread this year. Oklahoma 6-0 against the spread. Big favorites against UCF. UCF is horrible defensively. You know, Kansas's backup quarterback hung 51 points on them. They were beaten by Baylor. Kansas State, a bad Kansas State team, beat them by 2 touchdowns. I think Oklahoma handles this early, and I think they coast the rest of the way. I like Ole Miss against Auburn. You know, everyone can say this is
that's a Mabel pick if there ever was one.
It is. But here's the thing: Auburn hasn't scored 20 against a Power 5 opponent yet this season. And I don't think Hugh Freeze is enough to close the talent gap alone.
Oh, you don't think he's going to want to stick it to Ole Miss?
Oh, I do. I do, but I don't think Auburn's got the talent. We saw what LSU did to him last week, and I think Ole Miss is just going to score. I don't think Auburn will cover this, even though they put up a fight against Georgia a few weeks ago. I think Georgia was just coasting.
You got one that I really want you to talk about. By the way, I'm not the only one that I was wrong. There are 2 of us that have a Jags Saints in this game. You got Jags Saints under. You're building off of that 12 game in a row under. I know that Spencer feels the same way. I'm just going to say that I understand why you're taking it. And look, I'm a trends guy, so I would say pound it. But I have this weird feeling. We talked about it before. Does it make you nervous at all? Derek Carr, I think, is going to open up. I think he's going to have a really good game. I really do. I think Derek Carr is going to have a great game here. Does it worry you at all? Because I think this is where the streak ends. I think the Saints score in the upper 20s, and the Jaguars get enough to push this over the 40.
I could see it. You know, I debated. I went back and forth between this and Duke and Florida State. I really like the early line on Duke, Florida State was 17.5. And I really like Duke to cover the 17.5. It's down to 13.5. I'm not touching that. I think Florida State's good enough to win by 2 touchdowns. So I went with the Jags Saints. This is it's a Thursday night game. Thursday night games have a history of being ugly.
All right.
We've got the Trevor Lawrence factor. We've got the Saints being bad in the red zone. I think there's going to be a lot of field goals in this game. I think the under can hit.
I can't I can't knock you when you go with a trend that's going 12 in a row. Again, I wouldn't bet that it's going to go over. I just have a feeling, just by doing initial analysis, that I think Carr is going to have a really good game, and I think that's going to be enough to push it over, because I think they're going to be. This line has jumped up a little bit. Tells me people with money are betting the over. It actually was 38.5, went to 39, and then jumped up to 40. Now it's been 40 for over a day now. But I think there's something with that line, that total, that the sharps are pounding the over for some unknown reason.
I wasn't going to touch this at anything under 40. I don't touch lines under 40 typically unless it's Iowa playing.
Yeah.
But once it got to 40, I liked it. I know your Browns 49er, you were spot on with that last week, but you'll get to that.
I will. All right. Well, I think it's an interesting pick, and we'll see how it goes. Again, I have Jaguar Saints in my picks as well. That's coming up. But first, we got Spencer the Guru.
All right. I got a couple of totals here this week. Got the Browns Colts under. I think the Browns, their defense is going to continue to keep this low score. And a Gardner Minshew, now the Colts quarterback. I don't see the Colts offense getting a whole lot going here. I think the Browns will be able to shut down their running game. And also got the Chargers Chiefs over. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, those two usually always duke it out. I believe the over has hit the past 4 times in Chargers Chiefs games. I see that trend going the same way in this one. And then I got them in a teaser as well. That is the Chargers. Got the Chargers plus 11.5, because even though the Chiefs usually find a way to win, the Chargers and Herbert, they keep things close in these matchups. So I'll take the 11.5, and then got the 49ers -1 over the Vikings. Basically just need them to win, and I think they'll still do so even though they're banged up there. And got the Packers money line over Denver. Look, y'all, Denver stinks. Sean Payton's tanking. Give me the Packers money line. And then got a college football parlay here. Got the Utah Utes +7. USC burned me last week, so I'm fading them this week. Caleb Williams can't do it by himself. And then got
that is supposed to be Ole Miss. Okay, that's the right line. Never mind.
Yeah, Ole Miss. Yeah, I'm with Gabe on this one. I don't think Hugh Freeze stands a chance here. I think Lane Kiffin and the Rebels roll over Auburn.
That is way too Mabley for me. If I had to pick a side, I would pick Ole Miss, because just the thought of Auburn being within 7 points of Ole Miss seems almost impossible, but that's when things happen. The fact that, that line stinks to high heaven. It should be like 10 or 11. I don't understand 6.5 at all. Not even a little bit.
You know what, Jim?
That's why
I was surprised. I was surprised. Out of all of my picks, I didn't think that would be the one you called out as Mabley. I thought it would have been the Lions.
No, look, and I'll tell you, I really like your teaser, Spencer, but something about that Niners game stinks. And I know Kirk Cousins has been awful in prime time, but the Niners, and I know they're probably going to get McCaffrey back, and Debo looks like he's going to play, but something's just not right there. I got a bad feeling for the 49ers this week. We'll see
2
what
weeks
happens.
in a row? Because I know last week was like that, and
I'm not. Man. I don't like it. It smells. It's just got.
Laying the 7, I can see, but they're going to win that game. Minnesota is not a good football team.
I would have bet a whole ton on that Philadelphia was going to win a game. Like when Jacksonville won the first part of my money line parlay, and all I needed was the Eagles to win. I'm like, I was counting the money. There was no way the Eagles were going to lose to the Jets. So you can never say no way, especially in the NFL. All right, Thomas is not here. He's got a 3-team 7-point teaser. I don't think we've had one of those in the show before. Pays +130. He likes the Niners too. He's getting them even. He's got Seattle -1 over Arizona, and he's got the Chargers +12.5 over Kansas City. I don't love this Eagles team total bet, 27.5. I actually think this game's going to be a lower scoring. We'll get to what I think about that game in just a minute as I try to save my voice. And guess what? Miss Mabel made her way to Thomas's car too. You all got Auburn. You know what that means. Oh no, he's got Auburn.
Wait, no, he's
Never
got
mind.
Auburn.
Never mind. Maybe you'll be right. Maybe you'll be right. We'll see. We'll see. Chris Ross says the Jets are a different team at home. You're right. They are a different team at home. I don't deny that. All right. Before I lose my voice, I got to put my picks up there because I got a little bit left. There it is. Look, the Eagles, you know, the last time they lost to an AFC team, not home, away, doesn't make a difference. Last time they lost to an AFC team, November the 7th, 2021. Jalen Hurts was just a pup. They lost to the Chargers by 3. They're going to lose this game either. The Dolphins' record, by the way, the Dolphins' opponents' records of their last 3 victories, they beat the Broncos, the Giants, and the Panthers, a combined 2-16. Forgive me if I'm not impressed. I just think the Eagles are going to feed off of that mistake they made last week. Let's just put it that way. I think they're going to come back with a vengeance. That is not just one of my best bets, but it is my play of the week. I love the Eagles. See, good bettors, they don't let their little, just because you pissed me off last week, doesn't mean I'm backing off of you this week. My teaser is, look, if you're going to give me 2 scores with the Lions, I expect that Lions-Ravens game to be close. It wouldn't surprise me if Baltimore won. Wouldn't surprise me if the Lions won, but it would surprise me if either team wins by more than 1 score. And then I'm going to take Seattle -2 over Arizona. Guess what? The Cardinals are who we thought they were, Denny Green. And I love the Saints. I really do. I've been kind of leaning towards it, kind of teasing you on it. Did the Saints win this game? I think they actually win it fairly handily. The Jags have a lot of problems. Look, besides Trevor Lawrence, this is a terrible spot for the Jaguars. They spent 2 weeks in London. They got to play a home game against a division opponent they know very well. They don't need to prepare for. They beat the crap out of the Colts every time they play them at home anyway. And now they got to go on the road in a short week. It's kind of like, I don't know, when you're feeling sick and you got something fun to do, and as soon as the fun thing starts to die down, you realize, oh, Lord, I feel like crap again. Well, that's what the Jaguars are going to do. They're going to come to New Orleans and realize, hey, man, we've been playing a lot of football away from home. They're going to do it this week. I like the Saints. Chargers, I'm with you guys. You guys got them in a teaser. I got the Chargers +5.5. They've covered 5 out of the last 6 games against the Chiefs. The only one they didn't cover was one they gave away. It went into overtime. The Chiefs scored a touchdown in their opening drive. And otherwise, Chargers would have covered that one too. And then I love Falcons over Bucks in the money line, +120. Buccaneers are garbage. Baker Mayfield is garbage. They have no running game. I'm with Spencer about the Falcons' defense is better than people think it is. Desmond Ridder sucks, but he doesn't have to be good. Just remember, you got number 7 back there. Give the damn ball to Bijan Robinson, and you'll be just fine.
Thank you.
Just give
need more from Bijan in fantasy.
I was going to say, Spencer,
how hard is it?
The fantasy owner there.
How hard is it? Just give the ball. Just give the damn ball. Teams coming off long trips struggle at home. Ravens been on the road for a month. Lions are the play. Look, I think the Lions. I'll tell you, I was wrong about the Lions. The Lions are better than I thought they were. I don't think they're the best team in the NFC. I don't think they're as good as the Niners or the Eagles. And quite frankly, I don't think they're as good as the Cowboys. We'll see going forward. One thing is, and I talked about this in the preseason, guys, the Eagles have a just murderer's row coming up in their schedule. I mean, an absolute murderer's row. They got to play Dallas twice. They got to play San Francisco, Buffalo, in back-to-back weeks. They got the Dolphins this week. It is going to be a brutal month and a half coming up for Eagles. Can they get through it?
Find out.
I think they'll get through it about, as if it's 6 brutal ones, they're probably about 3-3. And I mean, Dallas's schedule is probably a little easier to where I still think Dallas, even though I think Philly's the better team, I still think Dallas could win the division because of the schedule.
It's going to be an interesting road for the Eagles because I think the Eagles overall are better than Dallas. But I tell you what, and I don't have the number in front of me, but Dallas is probably like +230, +250, somewhere along to win the division. And I got to tell you, Dallas could be a bargain. If they split with the Eagles, they got a much easier schedule than the Eagles do. They go through this murderer's row. Dallas could take the lead in the division by Thanksgiving and not give it back. So that's going to be an interesting ride. That's a bet I like to see. Guys, final thoughts before we go off the air today. Again, I'd be interested to see, Spencer, you agree with my Saints pick?
I actually don't. I got the Jags winning. in an ugly game. I feel like the red zone issues are going to continue. Unfortunately, I just don't really see being a short week. I don't think they're going to be able to clean it up enough to get this thing done. And then the O line being as banged up as it is, I see Josh Allen sacking Derek Carr at least 2 or 3 times.
What you got, Turkey?
I said it in my prop pick piece for this game. I got Saints 20-17, just barely scraping the under, but I think the Saints do cover and get it done.
Yeah, again, I think the Saints score in the upper 20s this game, and then people might be a little bit more hesitant this time. I don't think it's going to take more than one game for the fans to jump back on the bandwagon. But with this schedule that the Saints have coming up, and look, I have this, so I'll just show it. It's not in the right font or anything. It's not updated. But if you look at the Saints schedule, after this one, they go to Indianapolis. They're home for Chicago, at Minnesota, and then the bye week before Thanksgiving, and then get Atlanta. I mean, really, before they play Detroit, tell me a game that they're not going to have, that they're going to have a lot of trouble with. There isn't a game on the schedule. I mean, Minnesota's strength is their passing game. What's the Saints' strength? Their passing defense. So, I mean, look, I think the Saints are in a spot right here where they can actually turn things around. And all the Hoodats in Hoodatville who've been crying and saying how everybody needs to be fired and all this crap, we'll see how they feel in a few weeks.
I mean, I'll say this, even though I think they lose tomorrow, I think they'll win the next 2 and get right back to 500. So even if they lose tomorrow, it's not time to panic. I mean,
if they lose tomorrow and then they win 2 in a row, they're over 500. So there you go.
This is a typical letdown game for the Jags. As someone who knows the Jags well, everyone is always quick to put them on this pedestal. I'm not even sure they're the best team in the division in the AFC South anymore. I think the Texans can give them a run for their money.
You know what? I would have laughed at you if you said that a month ago, but it's possible. I love the way they play. And I said in the beginning, I didn't think this was a year where the Texans could compete, but D'Amico Ryans is going to be, if he's not already, one of those coaches that players just want to play for. Because the dude has his stuff together on defense, and he's obviously known enough to get people to know what they're talking about on offense and let them do their thing. Can C.J. Stroud be successful? I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. But you know what? If you have a D'Amico Ryans and you end up having a defense that's in the top 10 and you have an average to just above average offense, you can be good, especially in that division. So it's definitely not out of the question that the Texans can win that division. They will be a fun team to watch going forward. There's no doubt about it. So we'll see what happens. As Chris says, Texans already smoked the Jags in Jacksonville. Terry's saying player favorites issues about quarterbacks. I'm not sure what that means. Won't say here. I'm not really sure what that means. Look, I admit when I was wrong, and I might be wrong on C.J. Stroud. So we'll see. But Saints have a good chance to get something going. To me, this is the time when you're going to find out one way or the other. Are the Saints for real? Are they just going to keep playing this pity-pat game? I can tell you one thing. We talked about it this morning on Dad. Dennis Allen, he knows. You can hear it in his voice now. You couldn't hear it before. You could hear it in his voice. He knows he don't want to go down with the Pete Carmichael ship. If they stink on offense in this game, don't be surprised at all if he makes a move. This team is loyal to a fault, but he doesn't want to go down knowing that with his last chance, the last chance he ever gets as head coach, he's going to ride it on Pete Carmichael's coattails. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. All right, final thoughts, guys. We're going to go with you first, Spence.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off of that, Jim. I think that the change happens after the night. My final score pick, 20-13 Jags. I see the Saints offense struggling yet again. And I think heading into I believe it's the Colts game, we'll see Ronald Curry calling the plays.
Gabe?
I think the situation is eerily similar to Les Miles and Cam Cameron at LSU. I think Pete Carmichael, this might be his last game in charge of offensive play calling, but I do think the Saints get it done. I don't think the Jags are as good as advertised. Typical letdown spot. Saints are going to win this game.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think it's going to happen. And the reason being is because, like I said, if the Saints do what I think they're going to do, they score 27 points, you're not going to yank them after they score 27. Problem is he's good one week. He's terrible the next week. He's absolutely atrocious one week. And then they come back and go. Stop trying to outsmart yourself. Just do what your strengths are. You saw a lot of Taysom last week. You know that it works. Keep using a lot of Taysom. I don't care how good the other team is with rushing defense. Use Taysom more. Keep doing it. And let Carr do his thing. You got to one Mississippi, bam, you got to go. And stop throwing it deep so much. I like the deep pass every now and then, but we don't. If it's 1st and 10 on the 23 and you need a touchdown and you got 30 seconds left and a timeout, it's okay to throw it across the middle, get the first down. It's fine. It's okay. We'll see what happens. All right, lots to digest there. We will be back on Monday for Bayou Bets. Hopefully I'll be able to talk by then, because Friday I'm supposed to come back for Datitude. We'll see how that goes and give you Derry's dime. Hopefully it's a positive one. I predicted them to win. So chances are if they don't, I'll probably be a little ticked off. Who knows? Hopefully we'll all be happy. Everyone enjoy the game. We will talk to you later on, and have a great weekend if we don't see you before then. Peace and love, my friends.